We've never seen anything like this before. That is how yesterday's reading from Mark 2 closes. We have never seen anything like this. Jesus has done and said some amazing things, and the people are baffled by the newness of it all. Today, we take up verse 13 of Mark 2. Jesus went out again beside the sea, and the whole crowd gathered around him, and he taught them. As he was walking along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting in the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." Now we know him as Matthew also. Matthew, the tax collector. What an odd choice to be a disciple and later an apostle of Jesus Christ. One of the people that was a part of a group that collaborated with the Herodians and the Romans and with the liars and the cheats and the sinners. And Jesus sees in him the potential of a disciple. You know, he sees in each of us something we don't see in ourselves, and certainly something that no one else sees. Well, what did Levi do? It says that he got up and followed him. And as he sat at dinner, Jesus, at Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were also sitting with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. Not just the 12 that followed Jesus, there were a lot of people. There was an outer crowd that were following him around and listening to him and learning from his teaching and seeking to apply these things in their lives. But you know, people are connectors to other people. And when we meet someone and befriend someone, we're not only gaining one new friend or contact, but we are gaining a whole new community of connected people. And that is what happened when Jesus called Levi, Matthew to follow him. The next thing was a dinner. Jesus liked to eat with people. It was a part of the culture. It was a part of his approach. And there were a lot of them that came. And he didn't say you can't invite these old friends. He said, bring them on. And when the scribes of the Pharisees saw these are scribes who are affiliated with the Pharisees, like lawyers, like scholars of the law, saw that he was eating with sinners and tax collectors, they said to his disciples, why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners? Now, I think it's important to say this was scandalous. Why is this scandalous? Well, where you eat, how you eat, and who you eat with reflects who you associate with, especially in the culture of Jesus' day. You were selective about who you ate with, and especially about who you were seen eating with. Well, Jesus is sitting there with the tax collectors, the sinners, the people with bad reputation, and treating them as equals, conversing with them, probably laughing with them, and enjoying a meal with them. Well, Jesus heard this, and when he heard this, he said to them, those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I came to call not the righteous, but sinners. So is the family of God exclusive? Are there certain requirements to be in the company of Jesus? Are there only certain people Jesus calls? Yeah, sinners. You got to be a sinner to qualify. Now, he makes it clear along the way that we can all qualify under that criteria. So he broadens the scope, he broadens the invitation in later teaching, but I think there's probably a twinkle in his eye as he tells this truth. I haven't come to look for righteous people, for people who have it all together. I've come to look for what Brennan Manning called ragamuffins. People whose lives are not all they want them to be. People who cry out like the psalmist, and I've got a little piece on that in the blog today and on Facebook today. People who have to cry out the way the psalmist cried out in Psalm 38. You know, I'm wretched. You know, my bones are rotting. I feel awful about my sin. I can't seem to get it together. I need your mercy, God. And Jesus smiles and says, that's who I've come to reach. I'm like a doctor who has come to bring the cure for your wretchedness, for your remorse, for your sin, for your sorrow, for your regrets. Now, John's disciples, now the best of the best, right? The cream of the crop. John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting. Must have been a fasting time. And people came and said to him, why do John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast? They practice fasting. They were religious. They were observant. Does that mean that Jesus' disciples were not religious or observant? No, but they were kind of rough and tumble. They may have not been as devout or as pious or as refined as the disciples of John the Baptist or even of the Pharisees. Well, Jesus has an interesting answer for them. He is equating in this moment. This is not to put down fasting or to place it outside the realm of things that we might do in the church. You definitely see that the church practiced fasting subsequent to all of this. But Jesus said to them, the wedding guests can't fast while the bridegroom is with them, can they? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. The days will come when the bridegroom will be taken away from them, and they will fast on that day. In other words, there's a time and place for everything. But right now, this is the time of feasting. This is the time of joy. This is the party. This is the celebration. And to know in the moment when Christ is among us and when we have cause for celebration, this is a thing of joy. And then Jesus gives a teaching that will, I think, exemplify the exasperation of the crowds in yesterday's passage. We never saw anything like this before. We never heard anything like this before. This is new stuff for us. This does not fit into our paradigm. This does not fit into our frame of thinking or our frame of reference. This is like nothing we have experienced or seen or heard before. And Jesus says, no one sews a piece of unshrunk cloth on an old cloak. Otherwise, the patch pulls away from it. In other words, it hasn't shrunk. So there's a stretching that is yet to be done. You've got two kinds of material at two different stages. The new from the old, and the tear is made. And no one puts new wine in old wineskins. Otherwise the wine will burst the skins and the wine is lost. And but one puts new wine into new wineskins. One of the ways that we cope with reality, with new teaching, with new ideas, with new thoughts that are brought to our attention, whether by God or by human beings, is that we try to fit them into an old framework. We try to fit them onto old paradigms. We try to compare them with what we already know. That's something within our comfort zone. If we can fit something into our own perspective, into our own comfort zone, then we're comfortable with it because we can control it, we can manipulate it, we can understand it. But Jesus rocks the boat and he comes up with something so new that it stretches our minds, it stretches our hearts, it stretches our faith, it stretches our experience. When you step into the river of God's flow, you are stepping into something new. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for God to stretch you? Are you ready for God to rearrange your thinking? Are you ready for Jesus to invade your life with something that no one has ever heard before? Well, if so, continue to explore Jesus, his words, his deeds, and his call in your life. You may just be sitting in a tax booth one day and you'll come by and say, follow me. I would suggest that you seriously consider following Jesus. May the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and be gracious unto you and give you peace through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.